people who are determined to remain to keep us in. And I think it's noticeable that the Prime Minister going to talk to Jeremy Corbyn means that two Remainers are holding a discussion together, and that there is no spokesman there for the 17.4 million people who voted to leave. It's essentially people who always wanted to remain, have not negotiated well, have been opposed to Brexit, coming together to try and stop Brexit, to stymie Brexit, to prevent it happening on the due date, and to use an extension as a backdoor way of keeping us in. And therefore I tweeted earlier on saying that if this happens, we should be as difficult as possible, that we shouldn't just go along with it meekly. The EU hasn't negotiated with us in accordance with its requirement of sincere cooperation. It's tried to split up the country. It's tried to divide Northern Ireland from Great Britain. You can't call that sincere cooperation. It's insincere and it's not cooperative. And therefore, if because of their tactics in the negotiation, their demand for lots of money for nothing in return, we end up having an extension, then we should use whatever powers we have within the European Union to make life difficult. Now, this has caused the snowflakes to melt. You have had the great meltdown of a fellow called O'Brien, who broadcasts on LBC at a different time, and I'm sorry not to be collegiate with Mr. O'Brien. But he's upset, poor dear. I hope he'll get over it and is now at home having a nice gin and tonic. But if he wishes to call in, he can call 0345 6060973, and it would be a pleasure to hear from him, because he as always misunderstands, as so often the European fanatics do. We do still have some remaining vetoes, but that doesn't mean that we haven't ceded very large swathes of power to the European Union. If you take large swathes of power to the European Union, if you take the budget, we can veto the multi-annual financial framework, but we can't veto annual budgets. Fortunately, the multi-annual financial framework, which lasts for 7 years, will be up for discussion in 2020. So if we're still in 2020, we would be able to veto it, causing maximum inconvenience to the European Union. Equally, Monsieur Macron has come up with a whole slew of new plans to have a more integrated European Union. He wants to tie the whole thing more tightly together, as a follow-up essentially to the euro, but that would require treaty change, and we would be able to obstruct that. And a European Union army would also require treaty change. So there are things that we can do, but they're very limited, and the EU sets so many of our laws beyond this where there'll be nothing that we can do at all. We will find the regulatory drift that comes in and affects how we're governed carries on, that VAT rates are still under the auspices good by good as they are applied in this country. We can't exempt domestic fuel, for example, from VAT. Our trade negotiations, all handled by the European Union, agriculture, fisheries, all of this is outside our control if we remain in the European Union. So what I'm suggesting is we use those remaining vestigial powers to make life difficult for them, because they haven't treated us with the sincere cooperation that they now expect from us. And I read in the Financial Times that they expected us, if we did stay for a long time, to make a gentleman's agreement that we would behave nicely and go along with their stratagems. Well, I think that would be a great mistake. I wouldn't make any gentleman's agreement with people who I'd not consider to be gentlemen. So, if you have an appetite for an extension, you can call on 0345 6060973. You can text on 84850 or tweet at LBC, and you can watch live on Facebook. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing from you. And we've got Nathan calling from Cardiff, not too far away from me, just across the Severn Bridge, where the tolls, I think, have now been got rid of. Nathan, what is your thought on an extension?
Hello, Mr. Rees-Mogg. My thoughts on an extension are basically that it was a terrible idea. We should have gone. So I'm a Brexiteer, but I was advocating for the Norway option for a temporary measure, because I thought we needed to leave the European Union officially before we actually started negotiating, because they were never going to negotiate in good faith. And I think the idea that either an extension or Mrs. May's deal, which it will ever be used properly to negotiate a trade deal in good faith, I think is an illusion. The last few months have demonstrated that, and so I genuinely think that no deal is better than any other option, but I think the Norway option could be applied right now. It's an off-the-shelf model.
Ideally, you'd like to leave on the 12th of April and just get on with it.
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly my view. That's what should now happen. A good deal would have been better, but as we haven't got that, we need to deliver on the referendum result, don't we, Nathan?
Yeah, and I think that as well, it's because people disproportionately think the European Union trade matters more to us. I personally think that over the next few years, even US trade will be more important to us than EU trade, especially if we have a free trade agreement with the very friendly Donald Trump.
Well, a free trade deal with the US would be a great boon to the economy and would potentially open up the US market for us. And the EU is gradually declining as a percentage of our exports. So it's a failed economic model, and I think the sooner we're out of it, the better. Nathan, thank you very much. I'm now going to go to Maria in Chelmsford. Maria, are you keen on a long extension and doing deals with Jeremy Corbyn, or what would you like to do?
I think she's got him in cahoots with the devil himself, literally. I'm so, outraged by it. No, I think it's just delaying the inevitable to prolong it, and just all the Remainers trying to keep us in. I'm afraid you've got such a big lot of Remainers in the Parliament, and they just seem to be trying to do everything they can to stop us leaving.
We've got Parliament against the people, haven't we, Maria? That the people voted to leave, and Parliament doesn't reflect that.
No. And I'm just very concerned about this bill that's going through, if it does go through with the House of Lords. Is it Yvette Cooper's amendment? That if that does go through, and then the European Union turn around and say to Mrs May, well, you can't have an extension, where does that leave us? Would we leave on WTO rules? Or
well, if the EU won't... Sorry to interrupt, Maria, but if the EU doesn't give us an extension, we would just leave on the 12th of April. But it's fascinating.
Okay.
Yvette Cooper said that she would deliver on the referendum result, and her constituency voted very heavily in favour of leaving. So she's got questions to answer from her own constituents as to what she said at the 2017 general election.
Well, a lot of them have gone back on what they said. I speak to so many people that just feel so betrayed by it. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's doing a lot of damage to political trust, isn't it? That
it is.
People promised one thing and they're doing something completely different.
They are. I mean, I just think delaying the extension is just putting the clock back further and further, and just till they hope that we'll get so fed up that we'll give up, and then they'll go, oh, the British people just tolerate it. But I don't think they will.
I think you're right, Maria. I think they're trying to steal Brexit from us, and we must try and prevent them from doing that. Thank you for calling. I'm now going to go to Nezad in Southgate, and you're a first-time caller, so welcome. What are your thoughts? Do you want an extension, or are you cautious?
Hello, Mr. Rogg. I have to say I'm Remainer, but I think at this point all these extensions are becoming a nuisance and pointless. I think there is no clear direction from the government. That's very clear after the long meeting on Monday, when it's very clear when Theresa May decided to call Jeremy Corbyn. I think it was in desperation.
Yeah, I think you're right, that the Tory leader would only ever go to a socialist leader if they couldn't think of anything else to do at all.
Yes, and then I think the reason today they wanted to kind of play again to put the blame on the opposition. So I'm not surprised that these talks have stalled, and apparently they are finished now. And I think at this point in time, if we crash out, which is probably going to have some consequences in the short term, maybe there's going to be say people who need some medicine. There may be delays and there may be queues at the border, etc. It may not be that bad in the long run. I agree with your comments about the trade the deficit that we have with Europe. That will probably improve in our favor, but it's very unlikely that our economy will be able to suddenly compensate for all the losses of the imports, from European Union and so on.
But we won't stop importing from the European Union if we leave, and we're free to set our own tariffs. So we can keep goods flowing in quite easily.
But that is a question. I mean, you have there is no infrastructure at the moment in place at the Dover, which is the main hub, obviously, for all the trucks coming in, etc. So there's going to be disruption. I mean, I have a holiday home in Croatia. You know, I travel every year on holiday with a car, and I know when everyone hits the road how busy ports are, and you can just imagine if there is a check.
But it's under our control. And goods come through Southampton from outside the European Union and are cleared in 6 seconds. So that's under our control, and we can do it very quickly and efficiently. Anyway, Neza, thanks so much for calling and for accepting the result of the referendum as a Remainer. That's a very honourable position to hold, and thank you for calling for the first time. I hope you will call again. We've had a very good tweet from Andy, who says Sky did a poll today of Leave With No Deal, and Leave With No Deal came out on top, compared with an extension or May's deal. So why is the government not going forward with getting us out without a deal if the public is behind it? Well, I agree with that. But now it's 6:15, it's time for the news headlines with Thomas Watts.
Labour says it is disappointed with the result of cross-party Brexit talks, saying no real change or compromise has been offered. More than 40 years after the Birmingham pub bombings, an inquest jury has ruled an inadequate IRA warning call led to the deaths. 9 luxury hotels owned by Brunei have deleted their social media accounts because of a backlash over the country's new anti-gay laws. Tonight's weather, dry for many with showers in the West Country, a low of 3 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh. On the M25 anti-clockwise, there are queues from Junction 3 at Swanley towards the Dartford Tunnel. That was after an accident and a breakdown earlier. All lanes have reopened. Clockwise, it's queuing from Junction 22 for St Albans towards 26 for Waltham Abbey. Because of an accident, the inside lane is closed. Long delays for the A2 eastbound from the Bean interchange to Northfleet. That was after an accident earlier on. And in Ilford, Cranbrook Road remains closed both ways from Ilford Hill to York Road because of a police investigation.
This is LBC.
Hello, James from Park News Agents here. The talk of the shop is that this Saturday, the Lotto jackpot must be won. Oh, I knew those trumpet lessons would come in handy. Don't miss it.
Lotto. Amazing starts here. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
With our offers of the week, you get our solid hardwood quality for less. A lot less. But they're just until Sunday at Oak Furnitureland. There's a store near you.
Oh, I found one of our new Vauxhall Griffin editions.
Yes. What comes as standard?
Standard? Well, alloy wheels, sat-nav, aircon, DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone projection and USB connection.
Wow. Is that everything?
Sorry, forgot the colour touchscreen.
Buy a new Griffin edition, Adam, Astra, Corsa or Mocha X Plus and get a whole host of features as standard. The Griffin edition range. All Griffin, no bull. Visit your nearest retailer now. Vauxhall, British brand since 1903. Participating retailers only. Limited units while stocks last.
To find the truth, you wouldn't listen to just one voice. You wouldn't believe just one story. Or trust just one opinion. And neither would we. The Week magazine reviews all the issues of our day and where everyone stands on them. Sign up online and try 6 issues for free. Search The Week magazine today. After all, you shouldn't make up your mind on just one issue. Cancel anytime during the free period or continue with 13 issues for just £40.49.
Buying workshop delights and travelling to meetings off-site. Fancy client biscuits, last-minute train tickets, light bulbs, booking flights, meeting snacks, black cabs. You do the maths. Say hello to Soldo. All expenses paid. Prepaid business expense cards for you and your team, so you can decide who can spend what, where. And no one has to spend their own money at work. A win-win for you and your business. Sign up for free at soldo.com. Terms and conditions and card delivery fees apply.
It's the big one, the Grand National 2019. The big horse race with the big obstacles made out of big Christmas trees. And for such a big race with the big names, Paddy Power have a big, big offer. We'll pay out on your each-way bet if your horse finishes in the first 6. Not the first 4 or the first 5, but yes, an unbelievable first 6. Big obstacles, big offer. The Grand National with Paddy Power. 1/5 odds on each way bets. Selected markets. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. BeGamblerAware.org.
Leading Britain's conversation. Jacob Rees-Mogg. Tweet at LBC.
Well, thank you very much and welcome back. What we're discussing is Mrs May's application for a further extension, and I responded to that by tweeting, if a long extension leaves us stuck in the EU, we should be as difficult as possible. We could veto any increase in the budget, obstruct the putative EU army, and block Mr Macron's integrationist schemes. This has desperately upset the poor old snowflakes who are crying into their beer, if that's what snowflakes do, or they're just melting away. But it is a power that we will have over those limited areas that remain subject to the veto, which of course is not everything. In other areas, we merely obey our orders from the European Union. But Mary has called in. Mary from Torquay, you're a first-time caller, so welcome. What is your thought on Mrs May's extension?
Thank you, Jacob, and good evening.
Good evening.
I think if they can't decide, which is obvious that they haven't been able to decide, then we should leave, as they said they would do, and honour it. They don't seem to be able to get everything together, so I don't think an extension will help. I think we should leave with no deal, because yes, it might hurt a few people in their pockets to start with, but that will be sorted out in time, and it won't be as dreadful or as scary as people are portraying it. I just wish they would be honest with us, which they don't seem to be these days.
It would be nice if people stuck to their election promises, wouldn't it? Those who said that they would deliver on the referendum result, who now have no desire to do that and want to keep us stuck in the European Union.
No. Well, I was talking amongst some friends this morning at a craft class I go to, and we started on the Brexit, and they were saying, well, I'm not going to vote again. And I said, no, that's the wrong thing. You've got to vote, because no vote is going into their hands.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and some members of the Tory party are saying they're tearing up their membership cards. I'd discourage them from doing that enormously. They need to remain involved, because it's their Tory party. It's not the Tory party of the leadership, it's the Tory party of the members, and we need them to stay for the future.
And the other thing is that people are saying, well, I'm only one person, I can't do anything. But one person, if you add all those one people up together, we can do something, and we must do something. We can't let this happen, because it's our democracy. It's not the government's democracy, it's our democracy as people of Great Britain.
But Mary, you're absolutely right, and one by one we added up to 17.4 million and we won the referendum, and the sour losers mustn't be allowed to win in the end. Thank you for calling. I hope you'll call again. Michael texts, the most damaging of all options is to string this thing out. It just means more uncertainty, more frustration and less democracy. We need action, not further delays. James in Reading, you're a first-time caller. What are your thoughts on delay? Do you want it, or would you like to leave?
Hi there, Jacob. It's great to finally speak to you.
Thank you.
My thoughts on the extension, really. I'd like to sort of read out a quote to you, if that's okay.
Far away.
Is that okay? 1 second. So the quote is, we could have 2 referendums. As it happens, it might make more sense to have the second referendum after the renegotiation is complete. Do you remember that?
Yawn. Yes, we've been through that many times before. Have you listened to LBC before?
Absolutely.
Or is this your first time?
Every single day. It's the only radio station I listen to.
Well, it clearly goes in one ear and out the other. I said quite clearly that was a mandate referendum, and then to have a referendum on David Cameron's renegotiation. He didn't do that. He went straight to his renegotiation and had the referendum on that. We've been through this umpteen times, so pay attention at the back. Thank you so much. We're now going to go to Dalwyn in Pontypool in South Wales. Dalwyn, hello, welcome.
Hi, Jacob. The fact is, I don't see why we need this extension, because everything is done. Why don't we just leave? She's not used all her powers in dealing with the EU. She hasn't used Article 2 of the UN Charter and Article 103, which would give us the right to just say to Brussels, sorry, this deal is now null and void. And she could do it, and she hasn't.
Well, Dalwyn, I think you'd have been a better negotiator than the governments had so far. They seem to have rolled over to have their tummy tickled and can't agree anything sensible.
And you're right there. They just can't. They just playing around with people's lives. as if there's, like, if it's a game to them.
So you don't want an extension. You'd like us to leave now on the 12th of April and be done with it?
Definitely, because we could renegotiate later on, and we'd be in a far better place
Yeah.
then to dictate what we want.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the negotiations were badly handled from day one when they started off by accepting the EU's timetable and agreed to give the EU £39 billion of our money, taxpayers' money, without anything in return. Dalvin, thank you for calling. Tim texts, these drastically bad times call for drastic positive measures. The Tory party and the Labour Party only stand for themselves. Please start a new powerhouse of a party with Boris and Farage, with the foremost promise to put the country ahead of the party. Well, thank you, Tim. That's a bold suggestion. I'm probably too much of a Tory, but thank you anyway. But we'll go to Paul in Seaton in Devon, and again, a first-time caller. Lots of first-time callers this evening. Thank you. And Paul, do you think we should accept the extension, or do you want to leave next week?
Good evening, Jacob. I'd like to leave next week because with anything, if you have an extension on your house, you need planning for that, and you've got to go through the proper authorities. Now, with that, you know, Mr. Drax stood up this week and he apologised for voting on the wrong side because we need more people now to actually stand up for this country like yourself. Now, you know, I didn't vote last time because I haven't registered to vote. Now, I know that's illegal, and I have actually registered to vote now, hopefully for the next vote to get you in to help this country out.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you've registered to vote because we need voters in all elections. And I agree, we've just got to get on and deliver. And I like your point about planning. If you want an extension, you need planning permission. Nobody seems to have given permission for this extension. The government has gone ahead and done it and used the prerogative power when Parliament passed a law saying we would leave on the 29th of March, but that's been overridden. Paul, thank you very much for calling. Chris has sent a message on Facebook saying, come on, Parliament, EU will never agree a good deal. Just leave. No deal. My sentiments exactly. But Leo in Norfolk, you've called. What are your opinions on this matter?
Hello, Jacob. Well, basically, the only extension I want is on my house, Jacob. I don't want any other extension.
Don't forget the planning permission.
Well, with or without, that's the only extension I need here. We definitely don't need an extension. It's not an extension. This is a ploy to stitch everybody up. This is what it is. I don't jump into a taxi and say I want to go to Heathrow Airport, and then the taxi driver says you better go to Gatwick because their planes are nicer there, do I?
No.
You know, we voted to come out, and that's what we should be doing, is leaving now. The problem is, I can't see how we're ever going to leave if Parliament aren't going to honour or are going to put legislation to not allow it.
Well, I think it's quite extraordinary. I think we've got Parliament against the people, haven't we? That the people voted to leave.
I mean, I don't know where we're going to go. Now, other people have said about voting and that. I've always voted Tories. I've voted Tory all my life. But I shall never, ever vote for Tories again if I feel I've been betrayed. And it looks like I am going to be betrayed. And if I don't vote for Tories, I just won't vote for anybody.
Well, that worries me very much. That's why I'm worried about the European elections. I think if we do get to them, it's unlikely to be good for the Tories, and you might see extremists like Tommy Robinson elected, and that's against the normal trend of British politics. I don't think it'd be good for the country. It'd be very bad for the European Union. So they should be careful of what they wish for in terms of offering this extension.
But I mean, now she's. I don't know what she's doing. I've always thought maybe she's been a bit silly or a bit naive, but I've come to the conclusion now, you know, Jacob, that, I mean, she might be a vicar's daughter, but she's a liar. Basically, she's lied to us.
I think lie is a harsh word, but she was a Remainer. You see, I think that's the problem. And now she's cozying up to Jeremy Corbyn.
Because she said Brexit means Brexit, but where is this Brexit? Huh. Now she's trying to involve that other muppet. I mean, it's just making things worse.
Brexit seems to be remaining in the European Union. Thank you, Leo, for calling. I'm now going to go to Samantha in Chesterfield. Samantha, do you want an extension or do you want us just to leave the European Union?
No, I want us out of the European Union. I don't see any reason for an extension. I think that the 2 years that we've already had is plenty to have come up with a decision. When the people voted, we voted for leave. It wasn't a deal or no deal. There was no deal or no deal on the ballot paper. It was leave or don't leave, and we voted to leave.
I think you're absolutely right. We voted to leave, and that's what we want to do. And the government promised to deliver it, as did the Labour Party in their manifestos at the last election. They said they would respect the referendum result, and they're not doing that, are they?
They're not. They're not respecting the public at all, and they keep saying it's what the people want, and it is not what the people want at all. It's what they want. It's what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to come up with a deal, basically probably to line their own pockets, because it isn't going to benefit us. I don't think we're going to be in the state that they're saying we will be in, as in food shortages and prices going up. I just don't think that's going to happen.
I agree with you. I think
scaremongering.
You're quite right. It's Project Fear revitalised, and it's all nonsense. That all of that will be under our control, and we can keep our borders open. Samantha, thank you so much for calling. I think you're absolutely spot on. Very few callers supporting the Prime Minister or asking for an extension, though Katie tweets, who doesn't agree with me. She says, why threaten the EU with disruption when it's your government who is asking the EU to extend? Well, it's not my government, and it's Mr Tusk who is suggesting a one-year extension. But it's now 6:30, and it's time for the news headline with Thomas Watts.
The Labour Party says its Brexit talks with the government have so far not led to any real change in the withdrawal agreement. One minister has insisted there is a lot of life left in the process and that the government is prepared to compromise. A woman jailed for life for murdering her husband has now been released on bail ahead of a retrial following new evidence. The Court of Appeal quashed Sally Challen's conviction over the death of 61-year-old Richard, who died at their home in Surrey in 2010. Boeing has admitted a key sensor did malfunction on an Ethiopian Airlines flight which crashed last month, killing 157 people. There are reports the firm could now slow production of the model, which is currently grounded worldwide. LBC weather largely dry this evening with showers confined to the West Country, some mist and drizzle spreading from the North Sea overnight with a low of 3 degrees.
LBC at the weekend. Matt Fry.
Is our parliamentary democracy in Great Britain in peril?
No, just think back. The miners' strike. Very bitter.
I'm confused now, Lord Heseltine, because on one hand, you're coming up with the worst examples of where we might head in history. On the other hand, you're saying perhaps it's not quite as bad as something that you've experienced yourself. What is it?
Leading Britain's conversation. Matt Fry. Saturday mornings from 10 on LBC.
It's time. Time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. With stunning HD video, crisp audio, and instant wireless sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
The Google Home is an amazing smart speaker. It's worth £129, but you can get one on us when you get BT's Superfast Fibre Essential. Imagine that working with a hub that's more powerful than other big providers. Superfast Fibre Essential is $29.99 a month on an 18-month contract with a $29.99 setup fee. Join by 25th of April and get a Google Home on us. Search BT Broadband. BT. Be there.
Prices may change. New customers to verify see bt.com/smarthub. $37.99 for month 19. Terms apply.
Hello, James from Park News Agents here. The talk of the shop is that this Saturday, the Lotto jackpot must be won. Oh, I knew those trumpet lessons would come in handy. Don't miss it.
Lotto. Amazing starts here. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
A lot of Londoners aren't happy about the ultra-low emission zone. We talked to some of them.
£12.50 is an absolute liberty. Are they taking the...
Renault Zoe.
It's a joke, mate. Trying to charge people extra money for driving in the city, but...
Renault Zoe.
Man, it's ridiculous. It's just an absolute...
Renault Zoe.
It really is.
Keep it clean with the all-electric Renault Zoe. 0 tailpipe emissions, 0 ULEZ charge. Search Renault Zoe.
Your business has come this far, but now's your time to soar into the skies of spectacular with a fast, affordable Funding Circle business loan. With decisions in as little as 24 hours and a dedicated account manager, there's no waiting around. So join the thousands of businesses who have taken out a Funding Circle loan and help your business fly. Apply today at fundingcircle.com. Authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. T's and C's apply.
With our offers of the week, you get our solid hardwood quality for less. A lot less. But they're just until Sunday at Oak Furnitureland. There's a store near you.
Do you need an alternative to your bank to secure finance?
Well, Finance for Business are the brokers who can help you access it, allowing you to expand your property portfolio, to buy properties in need of refurbishment or development, or downsize and buy the dream home before your old house sells. Broking is the new banking, and Finance for Business are the brokers you can rely on. Search Finance for Business for details. Your home may be at risk of repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on a mortgage or any other loan secured on it.
This is LBC with Jacob Rees-Mogg. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Well, welcome back. Thank you very much. Now, we're not getting much interaction from the snowflakes today. They got frightfully upset about what I said earlier about us being difficult to the European Union, but they're very reluctant to call. So perhaps their voice isn't where their social media views are. But we've had lots of Facebook messages. Jason says, what's the point of an extension? 6 more months like the 2 years we've just had. And Marcus rather gloomily says, after this is over, the Tories and Labour will be finished. But we've got David in Leicester calling. David, you're a first-time caller. Are you happy with the situation? Do you think Mrs May's right to ask for an extension and right to be talking to Jeremy Corbyn, or would you like a more robust approach?
Well, I think at the moment the extension is almost necessary in regards to how the government acts. Hang on, I don't think I can hear you.
I can hear you loud and clear. You were saying that you think the extension's necessary. Why couldn't we just leave on the 12th of April?
At the moment, I will say how Labour's handling the idea of a customs union doesn't necessarily satisfy the sovereignty that the United Kingdom really needs.
I agree with that, and it doesn't help Turkey much to reduce delays on the border anyway, being inside the customs union. You need to be in the single market as well if you want to have completely frictionless trade, which wouldn't be leaving at all.
Well, that's the thing. I have absolutely no idea how we can balance the different interests that are required in how Brexit needs to be negotiated. I just think it's so complex when you consider the Irish border issue. The Good Friday Agreement relies on the free movement of peoples between them.
But that's a separate agreement. The free movement of people is the common travel area, and that predates the European Union. That's not an EU matter.
Well, yeah, the EU is not a signatory to the Good Friday Agreement, but the material circumstances that are required for that agreement to be doable. Just if you take the European Union out of that context, how is the Good Friday Agreement even upholdable?
The Good Friday Agreement is nothing to do with the EU, and the free movement of people in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, between the two,
well, the Good Friday Agreement
is separate from the European Union. The common travel area predates our membership of the European Union. Because we're not members of Schengen, so that aspect of our interaction isn't dealt with by the European Union.
But there is no, in regards to travelling between the Republic of Ireland and the Northern Ireland, there is no checks between them, isn't there?
That's right, but that's nothing to do with the European Union. That's an agreement between the Republic of Ireland government and the UK government that predates our membership of the European Union. So it's not really relevant. And that can stay. And the issue with the border is who's going to put up this hard border? We don't want to. The Irish government says it won't. Mrs Merkel says if there isn't a hard border there, it could move to France.
You look how they treated Greece.
That's right. The European Union treated Greece appallingly, bankrupted them, having forced them encouraged them into the euro.
I don't want the European Union to...
David, the line's not great, so I'm sorry to bring this to a close because you've made some very interesting points, but I'm going to go to Namana in the Forest of Dean. Hello.
Hello. Hi. I'm so sorry. I've got a really sore throat. I hope you understand me.
Yes, I can hear you clearly, and I could recommend fruit pastils, but I probably aren't allowed to advertise things on the show.
Okay, thank you. I will. We are talking about extension today, and I'm so against it. We all here and everybody I know are for no deal on 12th of April. Mr. Jacob Rees-Mogg, you have been such a kind man, and we are so grateful, and you're so noble, and you're trying so hard, but I think it's time to be a bit more aggressive. Not aggressive, I hope you understand me. I don't mean aggressive, but I think a bit robust about what we need to do, because this is getting rather ridiculous, don't you think?
Well, I do indeed. I think we've been badly let down, and I'm concerned that Parliament has set itself against the British people, which is democratically very risky.
It's terrible, and it's also what I am concerned about. Obviously, I am not originally from here. I come from former Yugoslavia, so I have seen some stuff going on in Croatia, and it's horrible, and I cannot believe that we might possibly sign any agreement in which Croatia would have something to do with. It's terrible. It's all the extremist stuff coming out on surface, and I'm really worried about that. I think we are million times better than that. We shouldn't go. We should go and build our nation to be good and to be what we want it to be. That's what I believe with all my heart.
Well, Nomana, thank you so much for calling and braving your sore throat. I hope it gets better soon, and I agree with everything you've said, and much appreciate your taking the time to call. Stephen Holyhead, do you think we should accept an extension? Are you keen on Mrs May talking to Jeremy Corbyn? Where do you think we should be going?
Good evening, Jacob. Thank you for giving me some time. I'm a Leaver, and no way would I want to remain in the EU. I've been staunch to that since I met Nigel Farage 4 years ago at our hometown. It's a disgrace, and I think what's the intention is here is what my thoughts are. The 16-year-olds now who couldn't vote, this extension will go on and on and on and on until those 16-year-olds become 18-year-olds. Then there'll be a good base for re-election and get the Remainers in, and I think that's the ploy.
Duke, I think you're broadly right. I think extension is being advocated by people who don't want us to leave and think that if they go on with this long enough, we'll all get fed up and say, oh, all right, then why don't we just stay? But I think the British people are made of sterner stuff. I think the 17.4 million of us who voted to leave still expect to leave. And actually, a lot of Remainers are Democrats, and they think that the result of the referendum should be implemented. So I'm quite optimistic that this ploy won't work, but I think you're right to expose it for the ploy that it is.
And the other thing I can't quite get my head around is the Queen and her sovereignty that we're giving up. I know she can't be political, but she must have her own little thoughts about all what's going on. And it just doesn't seem right that the Queen and us as subjects, her subjects, and her influence on the world seems to be a no-go, no say, stay stunched and say nothing. And I find that incredible.
That's right. The Queen has to say nothing and remain above politics. But we should remember that all her powers are exercised by the Prime Minister. That the Prime Minister acts on the advice of the Queen. So anything done by the Queen is in reality done by Theresa May. Anyway, we've had an anonymous snowflake come in. Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous, or Miss Anonymous, who says, how dare I refer to snowflake generation? If you send your name, I'll read out your text in full. But if not, I'm afraid you're cowdy custard. So name, please. I'm not interested in anonymous messages. I think hiding behind anonymity on social media is very bad form. So I'm going to go to Will in Plymouth instead. First-time caller. Will, thank you.
Hello.
Hello. What's your thought on this?
My thought on it is, I think, is basically it's to give them a chance to probably put some more fear-mongering to people, and I'm just basically delaying and delaying. It's just a silly tactic, but it's all they've got left really to do. But at the end of the day, when the 12th comes up, we should just leave. Just, we're strong enough. I think we are strong enough. We are British, and we should just go for it. Yeah, let's just do it.
Well, you're calling from Plymouth, which is source of many brave people, so you're not being bullied or frightened by what they're having to say, are you, Will?
No, absolutely not. No, definitely not. No, I mean, as I say, I'm just new to it all now, and I have been watching, and I do admire yourself as well, I would say, and I do admire, what you're trying to do, but I also feel that, isn't there any way that we can just sort of say, look, just leave. Let's just leave on the 12th and just, hold our head up high. We've got this far. How worse can it get? it's already worse as it is, so might as well just go for it now, isn't it, really, to be fair? And also, it will be for the people what the people voted for,
I agree with you, and I note you're a first-time caller, and I think you have opened your innings with a maiden century, so thank you for calling and making such good points. I've just got time for the next news from Paul in Bristol. Paul, do you think we should have a delay? What's your thought?
Hello, Jacob. Jacob, I think it's a terrible idea, and I'm going to give you 4 reasons why. I think it's bad for the economy because businesses need certainty. I think it's bad for our international reputation. I think it's bad for the Conservative Party because you're hemorrhaging voters by the day. And worst of all, I think it's catastrophic for democracy because people are losing the will to vote.
Well, I agree with you on every point, and I think you couldn't have put it more forcefully or clearly. Bad for democracy, bad for the Conservative Party, and bad for the country.
Yeah. Jacob, I've met with my local MP, Liam Fox. I met with him the day that Theresa May...
You're not in Bristol, you're in God's own county of Somerset.
I'm in Portishead, just outside...
Yeah. You're in a much better place. We prefer callers from Somerset than Bristol.
I know exactly what you're coming from. But I've met with Liam Fox, where I feel so serious about this matter.
Well, thank you for calling. I was in Cleveland earlier on today, speaking to Liam's Ladies Luncheon Club, who are a fantastic group, and they all want to leave without a deal too and crack on. Thank you for calling, but unfortunately it is now 6:45 and time for the news.
Labour has accused the government of not proposing any changes to the Prime Minister's Brexit deal during cross-party talks. The jury in the inquest into the Birmingham pub bombings has concluded an inadequate warning by the IRA led to the 21 deaths. Unions have requested urgent talks with the aerospace firm Melrose, which has confirmed plans to cut 200 jobs at a plant in Birmingham. Tonight's weather dry for many with showers in the West Country, a low of 3 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh on the M25 anti-clockwise. It's queuing between junction 17 for Maple Cross and 16 for the M40 after a breakdown earlier. Also anti-clockwise, and it's still queuing from junction 3 at Swanley towards the Dartford Tunnel. That was after a breakdown and an accident much earlier on. Long delays on the A2 eastbound between the Falconwood interchange and Northfleet. That was after an accident earlier on. And Cranbrook Road in Ilford remains closed both ways from Ilford Hill to York Road. It's because of a police investigation.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Andrew Pearce.
Theresa May is going cap in hand to Brussels, seeking yet another extension to Article 50. We're taking part in the European elections, it seems. Is Brexit dead?
Andrew Pearce on LBC.
5 stars, would definitely recommend. It's a quality car seat. Strong, sturdy and 100% safe. Perfect for our little lad. Not that I'd know. Never even owned a car seat. Don't have a car, don't have kids, don't have a conscience. I don't care if you end up with an unsafe product. Not when I'm getting paid to write fake reviews.
A fake review could cost you more than you think. A Which membership helps you avoid these lies. Search Which for impartial product reviews. Which, keep questioning.
From the 8th of April, London's new ultra-low emission zone charge will come into effect. Don't get caught out. Get your Euro 6 low emission van from VanWise today. 3 superstores with up to 800 vans in stock. Just minutes from the M25. All vans receive a comprehensive 112-point pre-delivery inspection. And you could drive away today from just £99 a month. Buy wise, drive wise, VanWise. Find your next van at vanwisegroup.com.
Now on Little Spring Spotters, here come the sustainably sourced Easter chocolates.
That's Bertie the Bunny, Larry the Lamb, and other Easter chocolates from 79p.
Thanks, Heather the Human. Anyway, there are loads more Easter treats in store. Lidl, big on quality, little on price. Subject to availability. Selected stores excludes NI.
Heather the Human.
It's playtime at Argos. Save up to half price on hundreds of top brand toys, including Barbie, Paw Patrol and Lego. Get same day delivery or collect in store and at Sainsbury's. With Argos, you get to go. Selected lines subject to availability. Offer ends 9th of April. Delivery conditions apply. Order by 6 p.m. 90% UK coverage. Selected Sainsbury's stores.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
What are you doing later?
Well, we're popping to the coast for Easter, so I'm getting my Ford serviced at the dealership.
You still go to a dealer?
You don't. Only the best for my Ford. I've done my research. Great value. £159 for a motorcraft service. Plus, you can get £20 off.
Really?
Yeah, just quote Ford 20 when you book online. Coffees are on me again, then.
Book now at ford.co.uk or visit your local participating dealer. Recommended promotional price including parts, labour and VAT. Not available with any other offer. Terms and conditions apply.
The world's longest wedding dress had a train that stretched for 5 miles. Pity the poor Page boys. For a frock, that's big. But it's not Euro Millions big. This Friday, it's a colossal £62 million jackpot. Euro Millions, amazing starts here.
Estimated jackpot rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
To find the truth, you wouldn't listen to just one voice. You wouldn't believe just one story. Or trust just one opinion. And neither would we. The Week magazine reviews all the issues of our day and where everyone stands on them. Sign up online and try 6 issues for free. Search The Week magazine today. After all, you shouldn't make up your mind on just one issue. Cancel anytime during the free period or continue with 13 issues for just £40.49.
Jacob Rees-Mogg on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Well, welcome back. Whilst we've been on air, Labour has accused the government of failing to offer real change or compromise during talks to end the Brexit stalemate. In a statement following talks today to try and agree a way forward with Theresa May, a Labour spokesman said, "We are disappointed." Terrible new Labour word, disappointed, but never mind. "We are disappointed that the government has not offered real change or compromise. We urge the Prime Minister to come forward with genuine changes to her deal in an effort to find an alternative that we can win support in Parliament and bring the country together." Downing Street spokesman has said, in retaliation, "We have made serious proposals during the Brexit talks this week and are prepared to pursue changes to the political declaration in order to achieve a deal that is acceptable to both sides." Well, in my view, why on earth can't they put together a deal that's acceptable to the 17.4 million people who won the referendum, rather than a deal that is acceptable to Jeremy Corbyn, a known Marxist who was always backing in the referendum campaign, in spite of his previous comments, the Remain side, along with most of the Labour Party. So I think that's who we should be supporting and backing, the 17.4 million, rather than the Remainiacs. Peter sends a message on Facebook saying, "I was told that leaving the EU meant leaving the EU and all its institutions, customs union, single market, ECJ, fisheries, farming, take back control of our money, our borders and our laws. Some MPs seem to have forgotten this." Yes, very well put, Peter, because I seem to remember the Prime Minister saying some of those things. Perhaps they're rather absent-minded in Downing Street. But we're going to go to Martin, who's calling from Essex, first-time caller. Martin, what are your thoughts? And any views on the breakdown of talks between the Labour Party and the government?
Well, I never thought that was going to go anywhere. I think it's just a show because both sides now are kicking the can down the road. Theresa May's too scared to do anything, and Labour don't want to do anything at this point because they want the nice long delay that we're going to get.
So you think that's why they've pulled out? And do you want the delay, or would you like us to leave next Friday?
Oh, I'd love a long delay for perhaps about 500 years. That would suit me.
So you're a Remainer, are you? You don't want to leave the European Union?
Yes.
Well, look, you're a brave snowflake, so I admire you for having called in. I'm so glad. We've had one snowflake call today, so thank you. You're a bold snowflake, stout-hearted Briton of a snowflake.
I was a bit worried about you, though, Jacob, because you did say before that you'd never agreed to Mrs. May's deal, and it would turn us into a vassal state, and then you agreed to it. Sounds a bit like porky pies to me.
Well, you're right, I did end up voting for it. I still think it's a bad deal, but I came to the conclusion that either it was her deal or, as you say, a very long extension. And I think
but you've got to stick to your beliefs, mate. You know, you have standards. You know, you can't just wishy-washy and change your mind just because you feel like it's together. You got to have standards and
surely,
values,
Martin,
mate. That's
surely,
what it's all
Martin, you've got to deal with the reality as it is. That if you find the road you want to go down is closed, you can't go down that road. You have to go down another road. And I'm more than happy to leave without a deal. I would like to leave on the 12th without a deal. But if that road is stopped, At least we'll leave under Theresa May's
about
deal.
the fact we'll lose all the car industry?
Well, we won't lose all the car industry.
40%, half our exports would disappear. That will turn into a Greece-like state within a few months. My children won't have the freedom to move about in Europe and get a job as they want. All this sort of stuff.
You've been listening too much to the Treasury and to the...
Because you've got a nice, you've got a cushy job and your investments overseas, so everything's cushy.
Well,
you don't really care about people, do you?
I don't have overseas investments. My business is investing in emerging markets for clients' money, not my own money. But it's not about me. It's about the British people, 17.4 million of whom voted to leave. It's nothing is about me. It's about 17.4 million people who voted to leave. And I'm afraid to say, Martin,
Great British Empire that have disappeared.
Martin, you're really reducing the level of the debate. It's not personal. It's about policy. Stick to policy. We voted to leave. The country voted to leave, and that's what happened. And you want to stop it
into the modern time, mate.
I'm sorry to say.
Now it was in Victoria.
Martin, this is meant to be a conversation, not a lecture from you, so just hold on a moment.
Well, you deserve it.
You simply don't want to accept the referendum result, and I do. You said you wanted a delay of 500 years. Look, if you interrupt me, I'm going to go to Janet in Marshgate.
Okay, I won't interrupt you.
Okay, thank you. And I will let you speak. But the point is, people voted to leave. That's the democratic result. That should happen. You lost the vote, and now you're in favour of obstructing it. That seems to me undemocratic. What is your answer to that?
What happened 3 years ago was a view that nobody knew what leaving the EU meant. Most people didn't vote to leave because of the same views as you've got. Democracy is not set 3 years in the past. It's more important that the electorate now, today, say what they want to happen. If they vote to leave that deal, I'm happy with that. But democracy is a moving thing.
So what happened in the general election when both the Labour Party and the Conservative Party said that they would deliver on the referendum result? The Liberals said that they wouldn't, and their vote went down, and Labour and Tory vote went up. So there's a double mandate.
So that's certainly the Labour Party.
Sorry, say that again?
They didn't stick to what the conference said, that the Labour Party said that they wanted a second vote. 80% of Labour voters and members want it.
But it's not what they said in their manifesto, and that's the basis on which they get votes from the British people.
Well, maybe, but what's going to happen is that there's going to be a year delay, there's going to be a second referendum, because after 4 years out, no one can really say they can rely on what happened 4 years ago. We're going to stay, and right-thinking people will get what they deserve. The million on the march, the 6 million that voted, it's right-thinking people who value loving other people from other places, being part of the biggest establishment, the biggest single market in the world, which you'll never replace leaving, not in a million years.
We'll be much better off outside the failed economic model of the European Union. But Martin, thank you so much for calling and putting your case. You had a good run at it, and I much appreciate your call. But I'm now going to go to Janet in Marshgate, which I promised a moment or two ago. Janet, do you want to have a long extension? Do you like Jeremy Corbyn being involved? What's your view?
No, I don't like Jeremy Corbyn, and I definitely don't want a long extension. I voted to leave. You know, I knew what I was voting for, and that's what I want to do. I want to leave as soon as possible. And any long extension, for me, just means, are we going to get Brexit? You know, this is just really what I worry about. Is Brexit actually really going to happen? And also, you know, while all the negotiations are taking place, what's happening with the running of the country, with the business, you know, with homeless people, with education, with the NHS, all of those things aren't really being taken notice of now, because all the government is talking about is Brexit. And I think that Theresa May, you know, she's had years now to negotiate. If she hasn't done it by now, we're not going to really, she's not going to be able to get a deal, I don't think.
Well, Janet, thank you for putting that so pithily. I've just got time to go to Ben in Wolverhampton. Ben, do you want a long delay, or would you like us to leave next week?
No, I would very much like a delay.
How long would you like?
However long necessary, really. I voted Remain, and I do believe that there should be a second referendum.
Mm-hmm. Nobody who voted Leave ever calls in asking for a second referendum. Do you think we should read anything into that?
Yes, because I believe that the people who voted Leave have got their own way, haven't they? For the moment, but I do believe that a lot of people who voted Leave have changed their minds, and if they haven't, perhaps should.
Oh, that's a different matter. There's no evidence for that in the polling, unfortunately. But thank you for calling. We're beginning to run out of time, and I want to read out some Facebook messages. One from Steve. I appreciate that you and a number of other MPs in the Conservative Party do respect the result of the referendum, but sadly you belong to a party with a pro-Remain majority. I cannot and will not vote for either of the main parties again until we have a proper Brexit. Just to reassure you, Steve, the majority of our members are pro-Leave, and the majority of members of Parliament are pro-Leave, but Conservative members of Parliament are pro-Leave, but unfortunately our leader seems to be a Remainer. Lorraine says, what compromise did Corbyn and co offer? Probably none. They just want their own way. Has anybody told him he is not in power? Very good point, Lorraine. A good one to end on. You've been listening to Jacob Rees-Mogg on LBC. I'm back next Friday evening from 6. Coming up at 10 tonight, it's Nick Abbott. But next up, it's that great scourge of snowflakes, the one and only Andrew Pearce.
Thank you, Jacob. And coming up in the next 3 hours, we'll be talking about the fight to save